With Kakarot out of commission for the time being, the battle between Raditz and Cell raged on. Powered by his daughter from the future, Cell's disadvantage toward the Saiyan was considerably less than before, close enough to be able to try out some rather cunning plans. Thanks to him possessing the DNA and characteristics of his enemies, Cell could now outwit the Saiyan at most turns. Couple all of these gifts with the fact that Cell is part mechanical and frightfully intelligent, especially in his first form, out of necessity. It didn't really matter that Raditz had the higher power level of the two. No, the monkey right now was fighting thanks to rage and anger driving him. And that, to Cell, was a major handicap, which could lead to him being absorbed as well if he were not careful. Cell relished the thought of possibly consuming this one too. If he did, he would be unstoppable. Perhaps he should have not told him about what he did to Buller after all. Mistake on his part. I guess that's a byproduct of his Saiyan supping just now. The monkey brain affecting him. Oh, how he loved to joke about them. Kakarot was slowly coming to, but still out of breath. He clutched his gut and lamented his fall. After having had the upper hand for so long, he had now been left helpless at the hands of what would otherwise have been an easy enemy to dispatch. No matter. He was now starting to gather his thoughts and bearings, slowly waking up, getting ready to be back in the fight. Soon enough, he would be good to go and go and help his brother. Unleash Super Saiyan 2? What? Really? He really had to use Super Saiyan 2? He really had to use that power here? He also looked like he was struggling somewhat. What a change since their first encounter. Previously, Buller had been able to floor this bug in one punch. Man, what gives? Kakarot smirked though. Whatever. I can stop that overgrown cock.
Wait,
said Android 16, who had noticed Kakarot coming too. Fortunately, Cell and Raditz hadn't really noticed the fact that Kakarot was now back on his feet, them locked in a titanic battle up above. 16! I gotta go help my brother! It's the only way to—
You cannot win.
What? Said Kakarot with shock. How can't we win? Cell's weaker than us combined!
But he is smarter. It has been proven now that he is able to outwit you at every turn. We cannot allow that creature to roam free for any longer.
Kakarot clenched his teeth in exasperation. And that's why I gotta get back in there! Cell's somehow gotten stronger! 16 looked at him seriously, dead in the eye.
Cell absorbed your niece, Kakarot.
That did it. Kakarot was now sparking, and even more determined to join the fight.
Cease,
said 16 flatly, placing his hand on the Saiyan's shoulder.
There is another way to stop him.
There is? How? Tell me! Because right now, the only way I want to end this is to smash that freak's skull into dust.
No, you run the risk of being absorbed yourself. Now that he knows that it is possible to absorb you that way, Cell will find ways to consume you that you cannot anticipate, and you and your brother's power will be used for his own gain. Then Earth will be truly defenseless. I have a way to avoid that, but I must ask you for your discretion and for your help to get your brother away from Cell.
Kakarot pondered this, unsure whether or not to listen to this robot. After all, it had been created originally to end Raditz, and that wasn't that long ago. Yes, Bulma was a technological marvel, and she had done her best to erase that original core programming, but things could easily wind their way back to the default settings if they weren't careful. Now, speaking of said folks, Raditz was getting more and more frustrated with his lot. He had this power in his hand to rip Cell in half if he wanted to, but he was finding it increasingly harder to just get a clean hit on this thing. And to top it all off, when Raditz tried a drastic tactic of tearing Cell's tail off to prevent him from drinking anyone else's energy ever again, within a few seconds, it grew back. How? How can you regenerate? Explain! Cell smirked.
Oh, don't tell me you're stupider than you look. I believe that this technique was a gift from the Demon King Piccolo. His DNA runs through me as well.
The Zenny dropped.
Of course, Namekians.
It had been so long since Namek that he had completely forgotten that that species even existed, and especially about that facet of theirs. Up above, Kami shook his head and wished that Raditz would have just paid more attention throughout all of this and his studies. Cell chuckled.
You must realize, Raditz, that fighting me like this will only lead to your downfall. I am part mechanical, which means that in theory, I will never tire nor age. And yet you will. And then you, he placed a hand on his stomach, will reunite with your progeny very soon.
Raditz froze. Cell exploited that.
She was so scared, you know. She called for you, begged for mercy. The fear she projected right before she became part of me was exhilarating.
Cell then proceeded to scream and shriek, mimicking somehow Bulla's voice, which really sent Raditz into a spiral of despair. He lunged at Cell, trying to get him to stop. He grabbed Cell's throat and went to squeeze every last ounce of air from within the Bugman. Stop it! Stop it! Right now!
Gotcha.
Indeed, Cell had got him. Cell's tail had whipped around and opened wide. It latched onto Raditz's legs and started to swallow him. Raditz was screaming and writhing around, trying to break loose. But the suckering power of Cell's appendage was too strong for him. He had been played. Cell had gotten under his skin and defeated him, despite being much stronger. He was right. Sometimes power wasn't the be-all and end-all. Cell was now laughing maniacally as he could see Raditz slowly being consumed in one go, one gulp even. But before the point of no return, in Super Saiyan 2, surged forward from behind and used all of his remaining strength to fly straight through Cell's torso, leaving a gaping hole in his chest. A byproduct of this was that this tail of Cell's came clean off again, which then allowed Raditz to extricate himself from it and narrowly escape certain death. Cell would have shrieked, but his lungs weren't exactly in one piece right now, and it took all of his concentration to slowly heal the hole in his body. And when he had finished, Kakarot and a now recomposed but slightly shaken Raditz were staring back at the bug beast.
Raditz, we gotta split. We can't, brother. We can't leave this creature to run free.
We're not. 16 down there's got a plan. Kakarot shot a look down below as 16 looked up.
What kind of plan?
Asked Raditz.
One that can stop Cell. Kakarot, I'm all up for a solution to stop Cell, but if we can't stop him and we're Super Saiyans, then what exactly can that bag of bolts do?
I don't know, but clearly 16 knows. We got no choice but to trust him, brother. Cell panted, trying to catch his breath. Raditz used this chance for a bit of a jibe.
What's the matter, Cell? I thought you never tired, since you are part robot. Has that side of you malfunctioned or something?
Raditz laughed, which riled Cell to no end.
A poor choice of words, Raditz. Especially when you forget I am part Saiyan. Don't tell me you've forgotten also that your trusty Saiyan power that will only make me stronger, thanks to your foolish brother's entrance.
Kakarot's eyes widened. Oh no. Saiyans got stronger when gravely injured and then recovering. And when you combine that Saiyan power with Namekian regeneration, that was a recipe for either glory or in this case disaster. If Cell had been narrowly weaker than Raditz was, he wouldn't be now.
Never mind that. There's still two of us and one of you. We'll kick your ass all day if we have to.
Cell wagged his finger.
If you do that, I will simply regenerate more and more, growing stronger with every recovery. The only way that you can possibly stop me right now is to wipe me off this sorry dirtball in one go. And from what you've shown me, you've blown every single chance to do so.
That was 16's cue. He flew up undetected, grabbing Cell in a full Nelson.
Allow me to try. Your reign of terror will be at an end. Saiyans, go now.
But the Saiyans didn't go now. 16's limbs hissed into a locked position, clamping tight on Cell's exoskeleton. Despite the differentiation in power, especially now, Cell still couldn't free himself from the robot's grasp. 16 then wrapped his legs around the Bugman, then hissing into a locked position as well. A small hissing whir could be heard, and 16's eyes began to glow.
Activating self-destruct sequence.
A timer blipped into life. Cell realized what was happening and was horrified. Thanks to his hubris, he had let 16 just walk about. 16? What are you? Kakarot grabbed his brother's shoulder.
This was his plan all along. To sacrifice himself and self-destruction? Well, that can't be good.
But Bulla, we've got to...
She's as good as dead, Raditz. We can fix that, remember?
Raditz calmed down, realizing what Kakarot was getting at. Without another word, Raditz flew away. Kakarot looked at 16 and smiled before he did the same.
Thank you, 16. I know our time together was short, but you're a good person.
16 smiled and motioned for Kakarot to leave. Cell writhed about, trying to get 16 off of him, but it was no use. Despite his power, 16's tenacity was stronger still. 3, 2, 1. They exploded. A 1,000,000-degree flash of nuclear fire tore itself throughout the landscape around them and utterly vaporized the duo. No trace left. 16's simplicity ultimately outwitted the wit of Cell. In the days that followed, as the Dragon Balls were being collected, Raditz and Kakarot were left processing the events that had transpired. These were very trying times, and they had plenty of things to learn from all of this. Most notably, that power only would get them so much ahead of their foes. No opportunity must be awarded to their enemies, no matter what power they were, even if they were the weakest of the weak. When the balls were together and Shenron summoned, our heroes, naturally, wished back all of those that were consumed by Cell, which naturally included Future Bulla. All across the world, everybody who had either been drunk by Cell himself or sucked up by his swarm were returned to life, completely unaware of the actions of the real events. Future Bulla returned to the lookout and was fully restored. Raditz looked overjoyed at seeing his future daughter alive and well again, and had expected Bulla to be the same, grateful for the opportunity of a second chance, after what Cell had said especially. But Bulla was not all that thrilled to be back.
So, did you stop Cell?
Kakarot cautiously nodded.
Good. I'd like my time machine back now.
She turned to Bulma, who was very sad at the coolness of her future daughter. The present Bulla was also disappointed. She did not want to become that cold when she grew up, no matter what happened. Raditz had seen this before, much like what had happened with his brother in the time chamber all those years ago, leaving things on a sour note, not to be redeemed for years on end. Well, Raditz wasn't going to let that estrangement happen again. He marched over to future Bulla, and she was expecting yet another diatribe, yet another lecture, but
if you're about to chew me out again and save it, no!
I forgive you. Future Bulla stopped, allowing her past father to continue. I understand why you did what you did. It was not out of cold blood. You were fighting for your future, to ensure that we didn't suffer the same fate. I will never comprehend what you saw in your timeline, and I am sorry for lashing out at you at the time. Future Bulla's face slowly moved towards that of relief, a small smile forming. But Raditz wasn't done though. But that doesn't mean I am impressed with your actions. What you need to learn from this is that you need to be more careful and assess things before you act. We are here to save the world and to perform the greater good, not make sweeping decisions on the fly without seeing it from both angles. We are not the judge, jury, and executioner of Earth. Bulla sighed.
What about Jiro?
Raditz cursed. This is why time travel's no good to anyone. All it does is cause trouble. The pair fell silent for a moment before Raditz resumed. I promised to learn from my impulses. After all, said impulses almost got me killed fighting Cell. When Cell told me how you felt when he had gotten you, it filled me with so much fear. I should have reconciled with you sooner. Then we could have found Cell together and destroyed him as a family before any of this could have happened. I'm a stubborn old fool.
Yeah, you are,
said Bulla with a cocky attitude.
But hey, she patted him on the shoulder.
So am I. Thanks for that, Papa. She smiled and they hugged it out. Sure, they hadn't really sorted out the android disagreement, but they at least managed to leave on a better note than before. Both of them would take that. And before Future Buller left, she had one last thing to do for the group. She pulled her past self to one side and handed her her bandana, her long hair flowing in the still crisp air. Won't you need this? Said her present self. Not anymore. This has been my lucky charm since the android struck. Thanks to your Papa. No, our Papa. I don't think I need luck to help me out anymore. I got my fist to do that for me. It's yours now. Look after it, alright? Present Buller was amazed by this gift and happily accepted the gift before they parted ways, and Future Buller fought for her future. And yes, she didn't need luck anymore. She wasted the androids in seconds, and that Cell, her version of Cell, she didn't make the same mistake again. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now.